Hey, good morning, Mortgage Coach members, and welcome to the Tuesday interview. Every Tuesday, I am interviewing someone awesome. Everybody on this call has a few things in common. You're a mortgage professional. You may be a branch manager who's leading a team, a head of production that's leading a sales culture, or a loan officer that's leading families and realtors. Super proud of the fact that 34% of the nation's best mortgage professionals are part of our community. So, and those who aren't in the top 1%, you're working hard to get there. So, like I said, every week I'm interviewing someone amazing. I usually do a little bit more opening, but we've got a guy who's high in demand. Jamie Shanks, welcome to the call, my friend.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to hear your story. Well, I guess I know your story because I saw that podcast with Anthony Incinero. I've interviewed Anthony about 5 times in our community. We're big fans of his methods, his process, and we love his new book. And by the way, folks, if you like Jamie and what we talk about in a few minutes resonates, listen to that podcast. Anthony always does a nice job of netting things out. But Jamie is only going to be able to be here for the first half hour, and then he's got to jump. So we're going to get right into that. I did have some opening thoughts and concepts and things to remind you about past weeks, but we'll cover those after Jamie has to run. So Jamie, everybody on this call is a mortgage professional or a leader of mortgage professionals. Everybody on this call, let's just assume that they're using social, combination of Facebook and LinkedIn. What I loved about when I heard you is it just sounded like not a bunch of fluff, because I do think that more times than not, loan officers and realtors are using social media, and it's busyness, not business, and I just have a feeling that you're going to teach us some ways of doing more business with social media. So if you don't mind giving a little bit of your backstory to the Mortgage Coach community and then pushing me through your slides and delivering some educational value for us.
Yeah, team, you said something really clear, and I want to delineate the line between social media marketing, which is just creating a noise socially, and then there's truly pinpointing customers that you want to deal with and working with them to arm them with enough information to make informed decisions. And you're using this digital technology to whether uncover triggers or use it for referral-based selling or to share insights. I mean, that's the backbone to social selling, those 3 pillars. And my story is really clear. I was the director of sales at a SaaS software company. Frankly, I thought I was a fantastic salesperson. I started a consulting firm, and then I bombed out. I bombed out hard. 18 months in, I was nearly bankrupt. And there's a longer story to this, but I needed to make a change and adapt to my buyer. My buyer is a vice president of sales or a CEO or a VP of marketing. And I recognized that my buyer had become digital and I didn't. And so through my transformation, developed a training curriculum that is now 75,000 sales and marketing professionals around the world have leveraged from all walks of life, from small businesses and solopreneurs all the way to the Oracles and the ADPs of the world. So that's kind of the backbone, and we just recently wrote a book called Social Selling Mastery that can help you in the audience here get a full flavor that yes, you might be working by yourself, or you might be working within a larger ecosystem, a larger team. And Social Selling Mastery shows you the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So if you can pull together all of these pieces together, you'll be much more effective as a sales professional than just doing those random acts of social kind of thing. So that's the backstory.
Makes sense. So
fantastic.
Oh, go ahead. You've got some concepts and thoughts to share?
Yeah, actually, exactly. And if you don't mind, if you go to the next slide, what I want to be able to teach the team here, and this is the backbone to our methodology, and just so you understand how this methodology was developed, I first built it in 2011, based out of need, out of true survival. I would sit at my computer at 3 in the morning. I felt sick to my stomach. I had no money. I had no supporting business, and I would discover these hacks. And these hacks turned into eventually a formalized process. And over the years, our sales professionals that we've trained around the world contributed to polishing the stone, so to speak. And it turns out, after all these years, it's now called the feed routine. And what this is a dance. Think of it as a dance routine, 4-step dance routine, that if you could do it in 30 minutes a day, that's all that this is, 30 minutes a day. Typically, those that apply social in their business have an increase of pipeline and an increase of revenue, the pipeline within 6 months and the revenue within 12 months of 20%. So here's this routine. On every account you're working, or every day, so think of it as every deal every day, that's a quote from a lady named Jill Rowley, you use this feed routine. And what it's about is you first find the buyer, find the people you want to deal with, and or socially surround everyone that's around that buyer. So whether that's a family, or if you're dealing with a corporate account, you're dealing with all the stakeholders involved. Okay, so you've got to find the right people. You've got to identify, be where the buyer is. Is that buyer leveraging Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn? You really need to socially surround that buyer and make sure that you're storing all of their information, whether it's in your CRM or a spreadsheet, whatever you use. Whatever data you collect on them, make sure you're also building social relationships with them. So that means that you're connecting with them on these social platforms, and you're truly socially surrounding that buyer. And this might sound, elementary or rudimentary or whatever you want to call it, but this is the first place that people fall down. They fall down because they don't make these genuine connections with people, and then the buyer doesn't know who they are. They don't really roadmap that buyer and say, this family is constantly sharing best practices on Instagram, or sharing their family story on Instagram. Or I noticed that he happens to be a lawyer and he's on LinkedIn. Well, I need to be on LinkedIn connecting with the one of the family members, as an example. So the baseline, the first thing you need to do is think of it like an organizational chart. You're mapping out the people that you're dealing with in the transaction, and you're figuring out all the social platforms that they can communicate on. Okay, so what you could do here is then go to the next slide after find. So the next piece is around educate. And so I've identified people. Well, what I need to do is educate myself on what they find important, what's relevant to them. And I'll give you a live example. Dave and I were just talking about this. So a year ago, we bought a home. And so if you had a socially surrounded, if you had found my wife, Rebecca, and I, you would notice that Rebecca is a large, so deal with my wife first. She's a huge Instagram user and a huge Facebook user. If you were to also have socially surrounded myself, you would realize that I'm a renowned expert on LinkedIn. I use Twitter often. I've recently discovered Instagram, and I've used Facebook. Okay, so those are my social platforms. Now when it comes to educate, you understand what's important to each party. With my wife, she's on the board of Women in Sports. She's a vice president of an ad agency. So she has a huge marketing background, so you can relate to her with this, and you can relate to her. She loves sharing Toronto, Canada-based community information. For me, my interests are, I'm a huge skier. I'm rebuilding an old classic truck. You can see we have a growing family. And of course, my management consulting company. So now around the education piece, you could start to derive what I find interesting, but you can now collect information about the target markets that we're looking at moving into. You think about us being a young professional family and how we're going to grow into a community. You could tell, maybe because I own a business, that I'm going to think of my home as a true investment and asset. So you want to communicate with me as if I was my home was a stock portfolio. So you're going to want to be sharing empirical data on how my home is going to accelerate the value of my family's income. The whole purpose here is you want to be educating first yourself. So if you're dealing with myself, you're learning everything about the community and the people you're dealing with. And then, if you go to the next slide, it's about engaging. So as we move to step 3, it's now about engaging me with these conversations. It's so critical for you to understand that a person is going to learn with or without you. It's just going to happen. And I think about when we bought our home. My wife was on, we live in Canada, so there's a platform called MLS. We're trying to self-educate. We're reading everything we can about the future of the real estate world in the Toronto community. But if you can engage me and teach me about where the best pockets are going to be, what that mortgage is going to do for me long term, and if I could use certain elements of the mortgage to accelerate my home value. I'm just thinking of ideas here. That's
By the
so
way,
critical to me.
let me jump in real quick. So one, Mortgage Coach community, I mean, already I hope this is providing some clarity. I love the takeaway at the beginning, 30 minutes a day, follow this process. And Jamie, while no doubt we serve the family, so we help families get mortgages, I would say the most valuable customer that we want to engage with, we want to educate, we want to develop is probably like a real estate agent or like a referral partner, a financial planner and CPA. So think of the use case that's going to be most common within our community, either the top producing realtor, that's who we really want to engage with, or a financial planner or advisor that has a referral partner.
And that's great that you mentioned that, and I it's so critical around that education piece that you are arming them with information so that they could better serve their community, and that so there's a statistic by Forrester. 74% of deals are awarded to the sales professional that is first to provide value and insight. So Dave, you be the realtor and I'll be the mortgage professional. The reality is if I am helping you better serve your customer and I am providing data and insights and referrals to you at a speed that others can't match, if I'm truly teaching and tailoring to you, that when it comes time for you to leverage a solution like that I offer, Forrester statistics is going to say dollars to donuts, 3/4 of the time, you're going to come back to the source that is constantly providing you value. And I think that hopefully that's the part that resonates with everybody, is when it comes to the education piece. I was thinking of it as dealing with the end user, but if your end user, the end user being a family, but if your end user happens to be the real estate agent themselves, that top producing real estate agent, it is critical, because that real estate agent, in their mind and in the community, they might feel that everything is commoditized, that everything is the same. But that's exactly where you can differentiate yourself and say, no. This is not all the same. We are not in a commodity play. And in fact, there's a lot more value that you're missing. And here's some best practices. Here's what's happening in the market. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it resonates. And Mortgage Coach team, I'm going to connect, some Mortgage Coach strategies to educate once Jamie kind of unpacks his platform here. So I'll do all that in about 20 minutes. Keep rocking, Jamie.
Okay, fantastic. So now it's about engaging, right? And the difference between social media marketing and social selling is that last keyword, selling. And this is where so many people fall down. What they do is they think that social media is about tweets and likes and clicks and views. Those are all vanity metrics. None of it moves the needle. What those are leading indicators that you are aligning the right activity to get to the type of sales results you might want to see. But that's not what the end game is here. The end game here is to engage in conversations, to take those conversations from online to offline as fast as possible. But behind the scenes as well, and we're going to use the same analogy of Dave being in the real estate professional and I'm the mortgage broker. The reality is I want to engage Dave in conversations to eventually take him offline. But the reality is there's long periods of time where I'm nurturing Dave. I'm educating Dave. But I need to be engaging him socially. And whatever platform that is, I need to be striking up conversations. And this piece, people have always looked at social media as a passive exercise. That's where the failure comes, where they you know, they're sharing articles, they'll like the odd article from people, but they're not actually having sales conversations. And that's the opportunity of the difference between social media marketing and social selling. And then the last piece is the development of your community, the development of your own social network. What I want you to think about, I want everybody on this call to think of themselves as a brand within a brand, but I want you to think of yourself as a digital newspaper. And if you were a digital newspaper, how would you grow? You would grow through subscribers. So the more people, the more people that you have in your network that meet your ideal customer profile, the more people that are going to like, comment, and share the type of insights that you are providing to the market. They then help your voice go viral. It then attracts more people from their network, which are most likely the type of buyers you're dealing with, because it's a constant viral system where a real estate agent is passing these great concepts on to other real estate agents as they like, comment, and share it. But you notice that they're looking at your LinkedIn profile as an example. They're liking or commenting on a tweet that you shared, or they're liking a Facebook message. What you're doing is then adding them into your network. You are, whether it's in LinkedIn, you're asking for a connection request, you are following them on Twitter, you're doing the same on Facebook and so forth. By having them in your community, they're then more likely to see more insights that you share. And it becomes a snowball effect. And in your target market, wherever that is, if you're focused on a certain geography, you're truly trying to have social reach is the percentage of all of the potential buyers in a particular market that are part of your network. And if you can absorb the highest percentage you can of those people in your network, and you keep sharing these insights, you then become the megaphone. You then become the voice. And there's a fantastic saying by a gentleman named Grant Cardone, and he says, be the lighthouse, not the tugboat. And I'm a huge believer that you can become this lighthouse so that people are constantly attracted to doing business with you rather than you just having to ask. Any thoughts or questions, Dave? So the purpose of the feed routines, as you see it so far, is you wake up in the morning, and one of the first things that I do is, and I stopped a bad habit a bunch of years ago. It was a mentor told me, don't get up in the morning and check your emails. Emails are other people's priorities, not your own. So what I want you to do is to better serve your community. When you're eating your Cheerios in the morning, I want you to share best practices. And if you compound that day after day after day, people are going to see you as the authority in your local community for X, Y, and Z. So when I get up in the morning, I'm thinking every deal every day. If I'm working a certain account, or if I'm just trying to better serve my community, I'm finding the right people I want to put in my network. I'm educating myself so that I can thus educate them. I'll engage them in conversation, and then I'm going to continue to develop that network. And I just continue to do this day in, day out, and you kind of wake up one day and you realize that in your local market you've amassed this following, this, as I said, this lighthouse, so to speak.
No, I love this process, and it's helpful to me, and just seeing the way that mortgage professionals engage on social, I would just say it's random. I mean, even when I think of the most successful loan officers that use social as a competitive advantage and a way to build and grow relationships, I think that this is clarifying. I think that even the best of the best in our tribe, as you say, they would love this. So this has been a great framework. Find, educate, engage, develop, and starting with a rhythm. I like the way you framed education. Educate yourself and your market at the same time. I mean, I think we all do that. I mean, we all know that the best learners are the best leaders, and leaders are learners. But think about how you can be focused. What are you going to represent in the marketplace with your agents? So Jamie, I know you've got a few more slides here, and one of them is how to measure social selling. So I'm super interested in hearing, how do you recommend that we measure it? Do you have another framework for that?
Yeah, and actually, now this framework has typically been used by corporations rather than the individual themselves, because it's truly around measuring the whole is greater than the sum of its parts and all the people. But what I'll do is I'll try to contextualize it to the individual. Now, the purpose here is that in any corporation, you need to leverage what is known as the Kirkpatrick model, and it's to make something scalable, to make social selling scalable amongst your business is, think of it like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this Kirkpatrick model basically says, first you have to figure out, am I enjoying this? So if we're using yourself as this litmus test, the reality is you have to first come to the recognition that I'm enjoying leveraging another tool in my tool belt, which is social, and that it's sustainable. I'm willing to continue to do it. The second, and so when a satisfaction for us, as an example, we measure if our students, our sales professionals, are actually learning, if they are consuming the education we're providing, if they're attending class. And so one of the things you can monitor for yourself is, are you willing to go online on a lynda.com or Udemy or do a course like ours and can complete it, are truly interested in learning more? The next stage then becomes around learning. And this is where companies actually measure the consumption and the retention of information. So for us, as an example, what we've done because we have leading, current, and lagging indicators as we go through training programs, the lagging indicator is about certification. So as an example, if you set a goal for yourself and you say, I'm going to read a couple books on social or I'm going to do a course, well, your lagging indicator is graduation, is certification. And the way you can, as an individual, self-monitor, am I willing to watch a podcast once a week on this topic and learn more? Am I willing to go to a webinar like you're on right now and learn more? Of course, for us with formal training, we use learning management systems that are meant for universities to help you along that journey. But the next two components are very tactical, which is around impact and behavioral change, and then, of course, results. And for any of you that leverage a CRM, so a contact relationship management tool, there is an opportunity for you to leverage this particular tool to determine if you are creating new leads because of social. You can create a check mark and determine if what I'm doing, if the actions, so I'm taking my learning and I'm applying it to behavioral change, are my actions actually translating into real sales information? And this is the difference between social media marketing and social selling. Don't count your clicks and your likes and your comments. Those are just social media fluff. What you're really looking for from impact is, did I get a referral because of conversations I'm having socially? Or is it, it's attributing toward, I'm dealing with broker A, and broker A introduced me to broker B. And broker A was sharing some of the stuff I had been sharing with them socially, and that's why they introduced me to broker B. Like, that's something that you can monitor. Is social actually helping impact my sales life? And one thing you can measure, am I having enough social conversations to give myself an opportunity to succeed? Remember, the only thing that you can actually control is activity, is social activity. The rest you can only align and influence towards. So what you can control is the number of conversations you have a day, the amount of content that you share to your community. These things you can control, and then the results are measuring, am I actually making new leads and inroads into the broker community that I want? Am I creating new opportunity? Did I win that new customer because that social is helping me along, helped me along that journey? And of course, this is what we do with customers, is we build these frameworks and we align it in their CRMs to measure that the activity is translating into sales results. So I know it's a little bit pie in the sky, but of course, at a tactical level, we use your existing platform tools to be able to determine is tools like LinkedIn actually helping me find 5 new brokers and have 5 new conversations that turned into 5 new opportunities. I mean, that's you can truly use these tools to create sales pipeline.
Love it. Love it. Anything that drives ROI helps everybody get a little more clarity on, social from a business perspective. And again, hey, there's nothing wrong with social for social, So I mean, I'm a big Instagram guy, and I'm a hobbyist photographer, so I love it. But it's not business. Now I will say our Mortgage Coach Instagram page has turned into something that's business. I mean, we get lead calls from people that see our Instagram page and call up for demo requests, and I have people that reference, they were inspired to use our product at an open house because of a photo that we had on our Instagram page. So
love it.
You can it's a beautiful thing when you can turn hobby into business. And by the way, just a sidebar, the only reason why I even started the Instagram page for Mortgage Coach was my daughter, who's loves photography, who's a senior in high school. It was something that I could do with her. But it's turned into, right? I mean, it's turned into something, and it's also helped us start telling our story directly to agents. Even though we are a SaaS platform for lenders, the more an agent can see that, oh, that's a better way to deliver advice between a loan officer and a mortgage professional. I want my clients to use a mortgage coach. So that's awesome. So I know we got a couple
what I was going to say is, I was just going to say, what I love about your business is that you're digitally disrupting a market, and one of the ways you're digitally disrupting them is through open education and open information. And that's the advantage your digitally disrupting technology can do is by sharing incredible insights. It helps it just kind of helps grab the right type of brokers who are the kind of people that would be willing to say, oh I should be educating my market in this same framework. Like everything should be transparent. I should be an open source of education. Anyways, I digress.
Love it.
Yeah.
So I know you've got to get to the airport. We got a couple more slides. I want to make sure everybody knows how to get in touch with you. And then Mortgage Coach community, be prepared. I'm going to break this down. We will have time for Q&A. And if you do have questions, go ahead and start submitting those into the GoToWebinar question area, and we'll have time for that. Also, I've got a few survey questions that I think will be interesting. I'm curious how many of you are using social daily and weekly, and I'm also curious how many extra loans are you getting. So stay tuned. But walk us through these last few slides, and then, Jamie, we want to get you on the road, my friend.
Well, and actually, you probably don't even need to share all the slides. Basically, think of that Kirkpatrick model. This is the important piece. You've got the triangle of that Kirkpatrick model, and it showed categories: satisfaction, learning, impact, results, and return on investment. But what you also need to do for yourself or for your business is think each one of those triangles are actually 3 triangles side by side. And what it means is that there's a leading, current, and lagging indicator to all of those elements. And the analogy that I like to use is when you were in grade 12 or you were in your senior year of school, teachers do a fantastic job of creating leading, current, and lagging indicators, and you didn't even realize they were doing it. And what I mean by that is your teacher looked at the class and said, I want 100% of you to graduate and go on to college and university. That's the lagging indicator. But he or she had to create leading and current indicators, and leading indicators would have been who's sitting in front of the classroom raising their hands, who's answering the questions. The current indicators would have been, oh, I'm going to flap down a pop quiz. I'm going to do a midterm to test that learning is translating into behavioral change or information change. And then ultimately, when you get to your lagging indicator, you can hit the final exam, do a great job, and continue along that journey. The reason I say this is that same model you want to create for yourself. So as you started investigating, am I willing to learn? Am I willing to change? That's behavioral impact. And what is it driving results? You also need to create for yourself spot checks of leading, current, lagging indicators so that you're not waking up at Christmas of 2017 and saying, oh, I didn't hit my goals. Well, the goal, that's the lagging indicator. You need to do the steps between now and then to get there. And you could create these micro goals of a leading indicator, something you could see in a behavioral change in 30 days. A current indicator might say, by U.S. Independence Day, I want to see that I've hit these milestones so that I'm aligning towards my final goal 1 year from now. That's the concept here, is that you're just like when you go to the gym, you're setting micro to macro goals. That's how you make an impact on your sales process over time.
Love it. Love it. So if folks want to connect with you, if they want to learn more, what are some small ways and what are some big ways our community can learn more from you?
Yeah, so one thing that I'd recommend is we have hundreds of thousands of readers a month on our blog site. So if you go to salesforlife.com/blog, it is the world's best practices on social selling. And also, if you are a book reader, I love it. Go to getsocialselling.com. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble. It's at Barnes and Noble, and you'll be able to grab a copy of Social Selling Mastery.
I love it. I love it. So guys, here's a link. We'll put that in chat. Check it out. I'm a fan. Jamie, this has been great. I don't know. I'm going to see if we have any quick questions. If you have questions for Jamie, feel free to post those. I'm going to do two things before you jump. One, I want to do a poll with how often are you using, and I said social selling for marketing. I don't know if I should have said marketing in this, but I want to get a feeling, folks. How often are you doing this daily, weekly, often, or never? So only about 20% of you have voted. You guys, you know how we roll. Let's get to 70%. So we've got something that's kind of statistically valid. Please vote it up. Now, Jamie, it's interesting. The average loan officer is over 50. So 54, I think, is the last stat. So just sidebar to be noted.
Yeah.
So by the way, only 60% of you voted. For those of you that are holding out, give me a quick push, and then I'm going to push this. So Jamie, here's the results within our community. Kind of interesting. 19%, so 20% daily, 36% weekly, 10% often, and we got 35% that are just not using social marketing for selling. So
yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, by the way, is that surprising at all to you?
Well, in fact, I would say that that's even above average. Just like anything, there's always the Pareto law. 20% of people do 80% of the impact, right? So it's great to see that people are starting to decide that social needs to be part of their day-to-day.
So now let's see what kind of results we have coming in. So I asked this question. There's a lot of ways I could have asked it. I want to know who's closing business. You've got loans that are closing, and they're either a direct result or there's clear impact as a result of what you're doing with social media. So we got 40% of you voted. Let's push it to 70%. So the good news is, Jamie, we've got some folks that are 20 plus. That means a couple loans a month are coming as a result of social marketing. So that's cool. We got about 5%, so we're at 60%. I'm going to go ahead and push this live. So I've closed the poll. And Jamie, there you have it. Not obviously 34% said zero. So obviously that kind of aligns with the people that aren't even in the game. 60% said a few. 5% said 10 to 20. That's like a loan a month. That's real. And 1% are killing it. And I do know that. I mean, that's right. I mean, I've interviewed enough loan officers. By the way, I've seen a lot of loan officers that are generating some, well, not a lot. I've seen some massive success stories with loan officers that are using Yelp, and it's a great strategy in some markets, or Zillow reviews. So one last thing, for those of you that are killing it, let's just say the 5% on the call, I would love it if you would share, just give me a sentence or so in questions. What are you doing, and what channel are you using? Jamie, any comments to that survey?
Well, it shows that I think also it says a few, and I think people inherently on the call know that it's valuable, and now this is your opportunity to solidify your metrics. Like take a moment this month to think about how you're actually going to document, whether it's directly as a direct referral or it's influenced and attributed. You know, every time you're talking to your customer base, ask them if it's, did you win the deal? Did you get the referral because of social? Or this is, also think of this term called influence and attribution. It means that they don't even realize that they're working with you because of social, but they are following you and they do notice it, and so it's influencing their decision. And that's an important piece to this. And you know, when you talk to our marketing team, every deal we do is influenced by social, because now every customer is consuming something from us. It's helping along the journey.
Yeah, well, we're trying to get our customers, you know, you know what we do, where we're putting the mortgage into a consumer experience, and more we're pushing and educating our users to help tell stories on social using our, you know, images from our platform. So any advice you have before you go on how we can help serve our community? To, you know, like, here's Denise Donahue in Dallas, Texas. She does a great job of just, you know, kind of snagging images of our product and using it for story, you know, what I like to call story selling. But any wisdom before you jump?
Well, the other part that I think that the community can leverage is you got to remember how fast the world of video is moving, and now there are free, you know, between Facebook Live, Twitter, you can make free videos on Twitter. Using your own phone, you could make something and then upload it to YouTube. If I'm in your community, if I honestly believe if I was in your industry, video would be one of the number one platforms I would use for education. And it doesn't have to just be phone interviews as you see in the image here. It could be, you know, real life. You can make all kinds of real life stories and data points, and I would be heavily leveraging video.
Well, I love it. So, Jamie, I want to be respectful. Thank you for all the amazing wisdom, advice, sharing your framework. Thanks for making your slides available. We have put those in the handout section of this GoToWebinar control panel. If you are listening to the recording of this, there'll be a link in the description of the YouTube page. Jamie, look forward to having you back. Folks, if you have questions for Jamie, go ahead and post those. I'll either try to get them answered directly from Jamie or answer them myself. But Jamie, we'll let you run to the airport, and thanks for making time for our community.
Thank you so much. You take care.
All right, take care now.
Thank you.
So, yep. So first of all, I've got Chris saying that Facebook videos, open house sharing, tablets, a lot of clients and realtors are on my Facebook page, you know, using it to sell. So Chris, thanks for sharing that. We close a lot of loans. This is Ryan. We close a lot of loans directly from social. I can echo the comments about influence. Made a mention to Tim Brahim, the whole concept of buying brain cells. So a couple things. One, I want to make sure everyone noticed this morning before this call, we actually have some videos, not videos, but social images. I'm going to go to my Facebook page, and if you go to my Facebook page, I created an album that's some examples of Mortgage Coach reports. Also, if you go to the Mortgage Coach Facebook page, we're building out that album. So right now we've got about 6 different visuals that would just help you from a story selling perspective. So just wanted to shine a light on that I've got a few on my page. We put a few on the Mortgage Coach page. If you like the fact that we're doing this, let our marketing team know that this is useful and you like it. Just go to the Mortgage Coach page, click like, and that'll tell us that you like it. If you have ideas or suggestions on things that we could visualize that would help you tell your story as a mortgage coach to agents and families, you know, let us know your ideas and comments. And also, if you're using these images, because we've seen them out there in the wild, let us know. Let us know what you think about that. Another place I want to highlight in the context of today's call around social, earlier I mentioned our Instagram page. And like I said, I started this, 52 posts ago, is really something that I could do that would be fun with my high school daughter. She loves photography. I love Mortgage Coach, and I love loan officers having Mortgage Coach conversations out there in the wild. And so I thought, what a cool place to collect these pictures. And it's funny, I mean, we're getting 47 likes and, 98 likes for this one right here. And a lot of them are agents, I mean, I didn't realize just how many real estate agents are on Instagram. And so we're having a lot of real estate agents connect. I mean, look at this one. I posted it a couple weeks ago, a Mortgage Coach at an open house. So two things. One, if you've got any photos of you or your agents using Mortgage Coach in the wild, please share those with me. We would love to post those on our Instagram. And also looking for success stories of mortgage coaches using social to deliver value. But I wanted to shine a light on the resources that have been uploaded and created by our marketing team. Like I said, let us know what you think of them. I've got them both on my personal page. Although I'm not going to grow them on my personal page, I really just put it there to support this call because so many of you already connect with me out there. Also, a couple Mortgage Coach loan officers that I recommend you follow. Dan Keller, who I've interviewed multiple times, just crushes it in terms of using social media and Facebook and LinkedIn and everything to educate. Also, Denise Donahue does a great job of taking Mortgage Coach images and explaining strategies and stories on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So a couple folks to check out. Let's see if we've got any questions. So Alan said, thanks for the great webinar and guest. No problem. So again, I still don't see any questions. If anybody does want to raise their hand and I can unmute you, realize that we could also do some interaction. So Chris, actually Chris, because you're part of the Insane Productivity group, Chris, I'm going to try to unmute you. Are you available real quick? I'd love to hear what you're doing. Are you there, Chris? Chris Williams?
Yes, Dave, I'm here.
All right. Hey, real quick, tell us what you are doing to drive business and value on social. What channels are you using and what kinds of things are you doing?
Most of my stuff is from Facebook. I know that Thursday I had a mortgage minute, and it's been a real success.
Hey, Chris, by the way, I had to remute you because the sound quality just wasn't working. If you could fix that and raise your hand if you can come back, but it was tough, man. Sorry about that. If anybody else wants to raise their hand and share what you're doing, or if you have a question that we can talk about as it pertains to social, whether it involves a Mortgage Coach experience or not, any questions or success stories, raise your hand and I will unmute you. Let me take a pulse check on that. Also see if we've got any new questions. We've got a couple new questions that just came in. Yeah, no problem, Chris. Okay, so I got a question here that came in through chat just asking for, what should I write about? What kind of posts sell? And I guess I would answer that this way. Every time I've seen something that's super effective on one of the, top Mortgage Coach, it either fit in the bucket of it was a story, so it was a success story about a family that was served, an agent that was wowed, there was a story, or it was a strategy. And sometimes it's a combination of a story and a strategy. So I think that's great. Also, I see a lot of very compelling, very successful messages that are just news. It's your take on what's happened in the market. Now, I would warn on the news piece. I see a lot of messages that they get put up so late, they're no longer news, and it's just noise. It's like, hey, that was like a week ago, and they're just. I really ask yourself, is it really news, or is it really engaging, or are you just kind of retreading something that's already been notified? I personally think the posts that are stories or strategies and they've got a visual image or a video integrated to them are the most compelling, most valuable ways to educate. So I also want to go back through Jamie's framework before we wrap up this call, and we are going to end it early, but I think I want to go through it from a mortgage coach perspective. I really like this feed routine: develop, find, engage. So I would ask every mortgage coach on this call right now, how intentional are you being at making sure the people you want to influence, and let's just really focus on referral partners. While I think social is valuable for families and there's a place for that, I think the bigger ROI is when you can crush it with agents and financial advisors in a marketplace. And I just know from personal experience that most mortgage professionals aren't as strong as they could be here. Or maybe you've got a lot of realtors, but you don't have a lot of financial advisors. And I would just make a recommendation to every mortgage coach, think of the wealth team, the CPA, the financial planner, the realtor, everyone that surrounds the family to help build wealth with real estate. Go out and find and connect with the wealth team in your local market, and make sure that you're connected with them on Facebook, LinkedIn, and whatever channels you do. So there's a action item for Mortgage Coach members based off of Jamie's framework. From an educate standpoint, I think this one I just think focus. Obviously there's messages that are in my Facebook. I'm Dave Savage, mortgage coach with a little bit of family. I'll throw in some family highlights, but for the most part, I am the leader of Mortgage Coach, and I'm trying to drive our mission. I would just ask you, what are you trying to do on Facebook? And are you consistent? Is it all family? Is it a lot of business with a little family? Get clear, and then also ask, from what Jamie said, are you educating, and what can you do to do a better job on that? Engage and drive conversations. I know I came out of this, again, Mortgage Coach, when I'm selling, I am going out to executives at mortgage companies. We're trying to engage them to become part of our community of lenders. So I've got kind of one takeaway from that. But I would just ask everybody, are you really engaging in conversations? I think Jamie said something about, in that rhythm, to make sure you're reaching out and you're connecting with people. And then the last final step, develop your network by sending new connection requests. How are you doing on that? So let me do a pulse check for questions again, and if not, we're going to go into wrap-up mode. Where can I download the ebook for targeting CPAs and financial planners? So that came in from Kevin. Kevin, that book is called The Art of the Referral, and you could probably do a search on our support page. Actually, I'll do it right now. And if it doesn't show up, you can always just email support@MortgageCoach. So let's go to the Mortgage Coach support page, support, and like I said, that particular report is called The Art of Referrals. Let's see if it pops up. Dave Savage, Art of Referrals, and there is a link, my friend. I'll go ahead and put that in chat so you can just click on it from here, but I just can't emphasize enough, guys, we have a great support page. Anytime you have a question about anything, it's probably answered in our support page. So check that out. Also, as I go into wrap up, I want to remind everybody this call is recorded just like all of our calls. So, we've got just so much amazing content. That interview with Wally and Shane from last week was fantastic. Check it out. The call from Robert Stover a couple weeks ago was one of my favorite for the year so far. Just, how to stand out, and that strategy that he unpacked towards the end around, creating a video. I'm showing a picture right here. He said, hey, create a move-up analysis, sit with your agent, provide a minute or two narrative on the move-up analysis, and then send that out to your clients. And by the way, according to Jamie, let's use that as an educational piece on social too. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you are up to speed on all of our upcoming events. So as you guys know, every Tuesday I'm interviewing someone amazing. Today was Jamie. Every Wednesday we are doing mobile training. So 11 o'clock tomorrow, sign up for this We're teaching you how to use our mobile devices in strategic ways. Every Wednesday, we're also doing a demo. Every Thursday, we're answering any and every question you have. And of course, we're doing demos on Friday. And every day of the week, we are we are doing some type of training. Next Tuesday, I'm interviewing Greg Wingard. This is just all about implementation and execution. So anybody that is in leadership, anybody that is a manager, this is an absolute must-come call. But even, for a loan officer, if you want to implement and execute at creating a sales culture better for yourself, and if you do have an assistant, do not miss next week's call. It's going to be spectacular. Really excited about that. So as we wrap up today's call, I'm going to push a quick survey question. Let me know what you thought of today's call. Did we surpass your expectations with value? Couple takeaways. If you are a guest to this call and you want to get a demo, click the last option that you'd like to get a demo. Let us know what you thought. And with that said, have a fantastic week. My last reminder to everyone, and I'm going to show a slide from my call with Darren Hardy as I say it out loud. When I interviewed Darren to kick off the new year, the big takeaways I had, and Josh Meadows had, and a lot of top Mortgage Coach users had, are get really clear on your top 3 goals. Be very clear on the key behaviors to achieve those goals. If social media and social selling is a key behavior, which I do think it's a great one, make sure you're mastering it, and then track it. Measure it, track it. Every family should be getting a total cost analysis, and that 5th bullet point is just prune. Prune the noise, say no to things that are keeping you away from your big 3 goals. So with that said, everybody, this call is a wrap, and we will see you next week at our next Tuesday call. Bye now.